Well, it is great to be together with all of
Mhm.
you tonight. Actually, you've already heard the best part of these. If you've listened to our children, uh, I don't know what else we can say tonight. Uh,
I'm a
the-
little afraid.
yeah, I know it.
We don't know what they said.
Um, but I must admit, out of it's always we love sitting at the feet of our children. And it's so interesting watching them now as they've raised their families, and now, two of our children have become or becoming grandparents, and so that's a little weird feeling, Anyway, but we will try to stumble through and share a few things with you. We're very humbled, though, by your invitation to be with you tonight. Our friendship with the Brown family goes back for many, many, many years, and we are so grateful for the kingdom of God and for the chance to have relationships like we do that are true and deep and meaningful and everlasting. And Steve and Diane, your friendship through the years has been a treasure to us, through the good times, through the hard times. And we love you guys so much. And I know for Matt and his influence and the impact he's had on my sons, and I know Adriana and the friendship that she has with Angela down in Austin. Anyway, we're interwoven together.
Yeah.
And so we just love being around the Browns. So we love being around you. So you've got a treasure there. I hope you realize that. But I don't know what our kids shared. So we're just going to go from here. I realized just a few moments ago, Matt, that you had a link to the previous time. So I guess we could have gotten on and listened to it.
It's probably better we didn't.
Better we didn't. Okay. But just a moment of background for us, for some of you that don't know us, but Sally and I have been married for 54 years. We just celebrated our 54th here November the 5th. And after we got married, Dave came along about a year and a half later. And of course, we ended up with 3 children.
This one from here. Here's just the big ones with the handle, the soup bowl. Or you.
Okay, I'm here. Okay. Does everyone hear me okay? Okay, all right. We actually graduated from Athens College down in Athens, Alabama. And I began my career in Huntsville back in 1967 at the beginning of the Apollo Saturn V space program. Sally was fortunate enough to be a stay-at-home mom and raise our children. And it was our decision for her to focus on our family, which we're very grateful for. Dave and Leanne were actually born in Huntsville. And just a little tidbit, we came to Nashville in May the 27th of 1972. Does anyone know what occurred on that date? You probably don't.
They weren't even born.
You weren't even born, yeah. But it was the opening day of Operaland. It's gone now, I think. But we brought Dave and Leanne up. He was 4 and she was 1. And we went to Operaland the opening day. And we love that place. So disappointed that it's not there any longer. But after the lunar missions ended in 1974, we spent a little time in Ohio for about 3 years, and then ended up in Columbia, South Carolina. And that's where we began our life-changing experience with the discipling movement. Then in 1987, we moved to Boston without a promise of a job, and lived on our entire life's savings until we were added to the staff there in Boston. And then after a few years there, we moved to LA when the church was planted. And then a few years later to Dallas, and we've been in Dallas for 28 years. So that's a little background, and Sally can fill in where I left off.
You know, this is so hard on me. I am such a huggy people person, and I just want to hug every one of you. And this is killing me. But I can at least see all your faces at once. That's really cool. I love that we could all see each other. But if I was there, I'd give you a big hug, and we'd really be able to have some talks privately about some other things. We would just love to be with you guys. We love it. At least Zoom. That's one good thing out of this whole pandemic has been Zoom. We've really used it a lot. But we do have, of course, Bill told you we actually have 6 children, because we include the spouses with our children. So I'd say we have 6. 9 grandchildren. Actually, we have 11, because 2 of the grandchildren are married, so we include them as grandchildren. And then we have 1 3/4 great grandchildren. One is already born, the other one's going to be born in February. So we really have quite a family. We all get together. It's a lot of fun. Now we've been trying to find a place where we can get together. And actually during this time, we've not been able to. So that's been the sad part. We look forward to the many times we can get together in the future. So,
you know, we're all on a journey, and we're all writing our story, and we're all in the middle of it. Our granddaughter gave us a plaque. I don't know, last Christmas, one of the last Christmases, but it says, "Every love story is beautiful, but ours is my favorite." And I know each one of us feels that way about our family. You know, it's not a pre-constructed story. We don't know how it's going to end. There are a lot of choices that are made along the way daily that determine, you know, the chapters. But you know, it's an exciting time because we are all, you know, we're disciples of Jesus, and you know, we have a God to pray to and a God to ask for help, and we have Emmanuel. We have God with us, and we have God in us through His Holy Spirit to help us. And you know, that's what can bring us comfort when we are within each chapter of our lives. You know, in Psalm 127, verse 1, "Unless the Lord builds a house, its builders labor in vain." And that is so true. So you know, tonight we Sally and I are we're very humble, because you know we sort of stumble through life, and by the glory of God and by God's grace, you know, our children are doing what they're doing, and you know, we just sort of sit back and it's like, okay, you know, this is what we did, you know, this is what we did. No, it's what God does through our children, and so we just have to acknowledge that before you tonight, that we've learned some things, we've done a lot of things wrong, we have you know, we've been all over the map, but God is good. And you know, I think the most important thing that we can start with tonight is really talking about, you know, a few things that we have learned and have learned from others that have become important to us in raising our children to love God and His kingdom. And so we're going to frame it within 3 different areas here. And the first one is the only place that we can start. And that is that the most important thing as a parent is that Jesus must be Lord of my life. God must come first and be the center of everything. It must be the first thing that we talk about tonight. And I'd like to read from Matthew chapter 10, verse 37 through 39. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. And then Mark chapter 12, verse 28 through 30, of all the commandments, which is the most important? The most important one, Jesus answered, is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. No, our children know us. They know who we are, because when we're at home, we are ourselves. And so if I'm having my quiet time and they see me, or if I'm having my prayer time and they see me praying, or if they see how I treat others, if I'm treating them with respect, or if I'm honest, I mean, they see who I really am. And I can't, I can't change that. And I think it's interesting that when we were talking with our children, we asked them a few things about what as they look back, what meant the most to them as they were growing up that helped them love God. And so Sally's going to read one of the statements that David made, our oldest.
Yeah, Dave said, he made the statement, or he said, and this is when the kids are adults. They're out on their own. They said these things, but Dave said, authenticity. Their faith was authentic and real. They lived what they believed. And I added to that, not perfect. He didn't say my parents were perfect. He said they were real. And that meant that we showed them who we really were, and that we were, and I think that's so important, because we have made tons of mistakes, guys. It's not about perfection. It's not about ever arriving. We've learned things since our kids are grown. We're like, oh, I wish we'd have done that. I wish we'd have done this, but I think I'm going to say something here that you're going to probably laugh about, but mistakes are good. We've got to learn that mistakes are good, because it gives us a chance to repent. It gives us a chance to show our children what repentance is and ask for forgiveness. It teaches them how to ask for forgiveness and how to receive forgiveness. And I can't tell you how many times I'm thinking of one incident that haunts me to this day. One of our boys broke a window at school, and somehow I think the principal called or something and told us. Well, we jumped to all the conclusions. Our kid was going to become a derelict. This was just terrible. And what were other people? What everybody think? What about this kid? I mean, we went all the way down the road over this broken window. And when he came in, I mean, he was punished. I think he was like junior high school or something like that. And it was really, really sad, because we didn't stop and listen to his heart. And then we found out later, they called from the school and said it wasn't him. It was this, exactly like what he had told us, that it was a friend that had done this. And things like that haunt me. And I'm sure you have a few things that with your children that you think about too, that if we had just stopped long enough to find out the real the heart of the issue, the real thing that was really going on. And I know one of the things that we really emphasized with our children too was that mom and dad get advice. And I'll tell you, we made a lot of mistakes because we didn't get advice. And then we had to tell the kids we were sorry about that too.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, okay. So before we talk about anything else tonight, we've got to start with that. And I don't think Sally and I have through the years have ever shared or taught a lesson or done anything that we haven't started with this point first, that as a parent, Jesus must be Lord of my life, because I can't teach, or I can't train, or I can't encourage my child, unless I'm living it myself. And so they've got to see it. Discipleship works. They will become disciples of something, and what you want them to become is disciples of Jesus, because you and your life is imitating Jesus. I know I received a little back when Leanne was young. And I still have it. It's on my back in my desk there, but it's a little plaque, and it says, I see Jesus through you. And I just, I've held on to that. It's just a little stone plaque that she was in elementary school when she gave that to me. And it just hit me that, she's going to see Jesus in me, and I must be that model for her. And, as single parents, I mean, we want to realize too that, we have a lot of single parents that are raising their children. And these are principles that, not just for a family with a husband and a wife, and, but single parents. I mean, is setting that example in every walk of life. It's really, even today, here we are, great grandparents and all, but still, thinking about how I react to things. And, the world that we live is so critical. You can't turn on the news. You just, everyone is critical of everyone else. And, that can wear on you. It wears on me. I mean, I don't even like to listen to the news anymore. Uh, but it wears on our children, and we have to be positive in our homes. We have, and we listen to that stuff and we start complaining and grumbling and really going downhill fast when we start, letting that our juices flow and all. And but we've got to have that reasonable spiritual focus, that we are that rock, solid couple in the home, and parent. But let's go on. Let's the next thing that we'd like to talk about is the second key point, is the importance of family. And this is what Leanne said here in her statement.
Okay, what she said presents, not presents for Christmas, but presents, like being there. She said they were available. Mom was home every day when we returned home from school. We had family dinners, family nights, and family vacations. Dad worked a full-time job, but when he was home, he was present and available for time with each of us. Our relationship with our kids, our homes need to be this haven. What Bill was talking about with all the criticalness, I don't know how many of your children are in school on one-on-one, or how many are at home with you learning. Here in Texas, we have a lot of the students are at home, and the parents are working from home, helping their kids with schoolwork or whatever, or they may be face to face, but our home needs to be a haven for all of our children. And making time for those heart-to-heart talks. I am so grateful that I was able to be at home when the kids came home from school. I used to say I'd solved more problems than the president on that 1 hour in the afternoon, because they always came in with something. But all three of our children had different personalities. I'm talking about our kids now, because this is what at least this is what I remember anyway. But one of the things that I used to do was to have some type of snack or food or whatever, so they'd have to sit down at the table at least for a few minutes. Two of our three children could talk and talk and talk and tell me all kinds of things. I had one of them, though, that I had to feed him extra good, because he would be eating something and then he'd mumble something, blah, 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 or something, and then he'd be gone. So trying to figure out how to reach each child, they're not the same. And it's just so interesting, the things that we have to learn each one of them. And I just think with all of the stuff that goes on, and particularly, I mean, if we're really tired of this pandemic, I know our kids are, but they need that encouragement from us. They need us to build them up on a daily basis, particularly at meal times. I've seen too many households where you start talking. Well, and we did this. We had to learn not to do this, where you sit down at mealtime, and that's the time to talk about the grade that they didn't make, or what happened to the homework assignment that didn't get turned in, or something like that. And meal times need to be encouraging for the kids, and just a time where you build up, because if our home doesn't build these kids up, nobody in the world's going to. But our home is there. God gives us that time in our homes. And so many of our children have these wonderful gifts that God has given them, to whether it's singing or sports or whatever. But when they excel at things like that, it's so important to remind them that, God gave you that gift, and you're using it in an incredible way, helping them to know that God gave them that it's not just them and their head swells thinking it's, them. God gave it to them. So.
One of the things that we missed by not being together as family this Thanksgiving, which we always love when the kids all come in, at Christmas or Thanksgiving or other times of the year, but sitting around the dining room table sharing stories, you sort of step back and you hear all the chatter, the laughter, the sharing, and it's always about growing up. It's always about the family vacations. It's about the times that we're building memories. It's about the camping trips. It's about all those things that you did to build memories as a family, and you just realize how important that is to our children. And sadly to say, we counsel a lot of families that are missing those times. They're missing those important times to build memories, and they're too busy. They can never, they don't have the money. When our children were younger, we didn't have the money. So I bought a tent, a 9x12 Coleman cabin tent, and the stove and all of that. And we put it on our station wagon top like the Beverly Hillbillies. And we drove from Huntsville to Fall Creek Falls State Park outside of Knoxville. Has everyone been there before? It's a beautiful place. That was our first attempt at camping, and we loved it. And from then on,
Except.
well, except that it rained all night. And the people that we went with, their tent was older, it leaked, and they left us and went to the lodge, and we stayed there all night. We were dry, we were great. Uh, I think which one of the kids, anyway. But
We get off on things.
from then
sorry.
on, we camped from Canada to Disney World. All of our vacations were camping, and those are so many of the stories and the memories that are had. And during those times, the talks and yeah, well, I forget about all the bad times of
We won't go
having to
into that.
separate them, and anyway. So see, as grandparents, you forget all those things,
Yeah, just
right?
remember the good stuff.
You just remember the good stuff, right, Steve and Diane? But but even today, on spring breaks, all of our family, we go camping. We've camped at, in different places in Texas. Everyone wants to go camping. Their families go camping separately. We stay at the Holiday Inn Express and try to get a place, near the campgrounds. But
we get up and go to breakfast there at the campground. Yes.
But sitting around the campfire at night, just sharing stories. Don't miss out on those types of opportunities with your children. I know the older they get, they get off to college, and I mean they scatter and all, but when you've laid that foundation and that culture, family culture, that you always love getting back together, and they always come back. So our one-on-one discipling times, and I know many of you, your teens have not become disciples yet, but
Yeah, it's a big word.
yet, and I say yet because you never give up. I don't care how long it takes. You never give up, and so, but those heart-to-heart talks are so important. The younger you start, the better. And then when if they get to the teen years, going through the rough times, going through the struggles, you've already developed that heart-to-heart communication connection, and it's so much easier to help our kids through those tough times. I remember there's times when Steve, has lost jobs and been crushed. And I remember getting together with him, just all the time, during that time, helping him through that, and just talking and looking at scripture and encouraging. And I know each one of our children, I know in our move to Boston, leaving Columbia was really hard on Leanne. And we had to have some heart-to-heart talks, where it's like, Leanne, you've just got to trust me. And we were able to have those talks because we had laid a foundation early on. And so, and I know with Dave, I know he's been through some of those times, and so it's just times where just you don't lose out on those types of times. Family devotionals, fun times. I know Sally has made our home and created our home to be just anyone that walks in feels like they're at home, and it was a place that our children wanted to be. We tried to provide things for them that they wanted their friends to come to our house rather than them wanting to go somewhere else because they had all the cool toys. Back in their day, it was ping pong, pong on the computer, Pac-Man. I mean, that was some of the early Nintendo games. I mean, crude. but we had them. We had them because we wanted our home to be the place they wanted to be and bring kids to. We couldn't afford an in-ground swimming pool, so I put up above the ground swimming pool, so that we'd have the kids could bring their friends to our place. But just trying to think about those types of things that life centered around our home, and it was a place of hospitality. I know if there was an evening that we didn't have anyone for dinner, our kids, asked why. No one's coming tonight, and they would have a sad face on there, like it was just sort of expected that there was going to be someone that was there. Let me just check. Another thing about the home is being unified in your decisions. Whether it be discipline. Sally and I were always very careful not to have disagreements and argue in front of our children when it came to things that we, wanted to discuss, and as far as discipline for them or those types of things. And, we just, like I'm sure each one of you, we have our own temperaments, we have our own personalities, and we feel differently about different things. Oh, let them go. They'll be okay. No, it's too dangerous. We were the same. Okay. And you could probably figure out who it was, but, we tried not to let our kids in on that. But what is so funny is they knew, they nailed us. To listen to them today, as adults share about things that we tried to hide or we tried, they knew. So
they knew exactly who to go to first.
Yep. If they wanted, yeah. Anyway, so you want to share anything else? Okay. So another important key that we would like to talk a little bit about tonight is the importance of loving the church, family, and the kingdom of God. Here's what Steve said.
Okay. Steve said that one of the things that helped him so much through his childhood or through his school years and all, he said, was opportunities. They provided us with the opportunity to be around people who would call us higher spiritually through lots of hospitality and making kingdom first decisions. I was able to go to Russia to visit my brother and sister in the Moscow, St. Petersburg churches, as well as visit the churches in the Philippines and South Africa. The financial sacrifice to make this happen has definitely paid dividends in my life. And I have a passion about this. We've got to teach our children to love the church. The church is made up of imperfect people. You've heard that many times, but we teach the children to love the church, love the leaders, love the people in their life. Everybody's trying to do what's right, and we may not always agree, but we love the church and teach them that. And I think about what Steve was talking about there too, is the different opportunities. What a wonderful thing to be able to send your kids to youth corps. Oh my goodness, they are wonderful. These kids come back and they are ready to study the Bible. They are ready to, they're just ready to conquer the world for Jesus. It's just wonderful, wonderful opportunities for the kids. And I think in our own lives, loving the church and sharing with our children our conversion over and over. I was surprised back a few years ago, our whole family was sitting around the table and we were eating and we realized that our grandchildren did not know our story. Our grandkids didn't know. And so we told them the story, told them about our conversion and how much we loved God and the different sacrifices and all. And they, I mean, they were just wide-eyed. They did not know our story. And then we just shared it with them, I think, last year again, and there was still a couple of them that didn't know the story. And so we have to share it over and over and over and over how grateful we are for what God did, what Jesus did. We just have to share it over and over because we forget. That's why we take communion every Sunday, because we forget what Jesus did, or we could forget. And so it's important to keep sharing that over and over again, so that, and it also helps us because I love to see the expressions on their faces when they hear the stories. And it's just awesome. And just don't ever, everybody has an amazing story. And we hear stories all the time when we're studying the Bible with people. And we share them with, we would share them with the kids, you know, not real detail, a lot of detail, but, you know, about somebody that studied the Bible and how their life had changed. And just recently here in Dallas, there was a young man who picked up his Bible and decided during the pandemic he was going to read the whole Bible. He never studied with anybody. I think somebody had invited him to church, but didn't study with anybody. Read the whole Bible. And then he called his friend who was a disciple and told him, he said, I've read this. I want to be a disciple. I want to be baptized. And I'm telling you, you got to tell your kids story. We have them. We have them in every church. We have stories. When people come over to your house for dinner, get them to tell their story so your kids can hear. It's amazing. Everybody's story is amazing.
Hmm. You know, I think another, loving the church, I mean, I guess we're just so grateful for the kingdom. I mean, again, it's like, it changed our lives, and our children knew that it changed our lives. And, you know, what the cross means and what it's done to our lives. And again, I just, you know, I mean, how could we live any other life than to be able to be surrounded by brothers and sisters, and we could come to Nashville and we would be among family. You know, it's just, you could come to Dallas and you'll be among family. We could go anywhere, and it's just what a treasure that is. And for our children to be able to have that, that's community. You know, I remember back when we, you know, we're sort of the baby boomer generation, and back in the late 70s, early 80s, we began to see God's truth. You know, we saw something that we had never seen before. It was, wow, you know, it's baptism. I mean, immersion, personal relationship with Jesus, a discipling relationship that, you know, that you can be a part of each other's lives and be real and open and talk about sin. And, you know, it was like, I mean, this truth just it was overwhelming. It caused us to, you know, quit our, you know, Steve and Diane, yeah, we quit our jobs, but, you know, move up to Boston to be around other disciples, to go out and to plant churches around the world. It was an exciting time. But, you know, our kids today, they're all about community, and that's what we have to offer. If we as adults, as we as parents, you know, if we are as zealous and fired up and excited about our Christianity and our walk with Jesus and what we have, that it will inspire them. I'm just blown away at our young people. You know, we have a youth and family here that I just, you know, in Dallas, that I mean, I would, oh my goodness, I just I just love our youth and family ministry and our teams. I mean, just their family, they're the way that they're growing, they're becoming disciples, they're wanting to do things. You know, our campus ministry, our campus students wanting to go out to do things. And we, as the older generation now, you know, we've got to let them do things like that. We have got to let them go, encourage them. We get them to events. I remember back when Dave was in the 11th grade, uh, there was the first Hope campaign that took place in London, England. And it was a 3-week Hope campaign that they were going to go into the streets of London and just share and this campaign. And you know, we saved up money and he went, you know, we sent him, 11th grader, for 3 weeks living at the YMCA. What were we thinking? He comes back now and tells about all these stories that just like, what? What? You had what to eat for 3 weeks? Oh, we were terrible parents. But that's his, you know, that's his story. That's part of him. That's part of why he you know, he's and Leanne, our daughter, you know, at 19, you know, wanting to go to Russia in 1991. At 19, with a group of less than 20 kids her own age, going to, you know, walking through Red Square. I mean, what were we thinking? We were terrible parents. But that's her story. And, you know, each one of our kids, Steve, you know, in all of his ventures and things that he's done and leading Hope Youth Corps all over, and all of the trips, you know, going on mission teams to College Station. And, you know, I mean, that's his story. And we've got to let our children write their stories, helping them and providing the way, us being faithful, passionate disciples, and giving them that environment, encouraging them, reminding them that every gift that they have is from God, that you know, God gave it to them, and you know, don't waste it, but take it and multiply it, and you know, build them up, and do what you can as parents. Uh, I think those are just some things that that we think about, guys. That you know, our children knew our disciples when they were younger. They knew people were involved in our lives. We were growing. We you know, we wanted to grow. When they were younger, as teens, we would invite campus students over. We fed them. We kept them close, and our kids looked up to them, and they wanted to be like them. And you know, we did everything we could to help them love the church and to be around, and us trying to, you know, stay faithful and doing what we could to serve the Lord. I think, you know, the last thing here that I think about is the importance of serving together. You know, we had a Saturday Academy here for many years in inner city Dallas. And, you know, it was a wonderful thing because a lot of our parents went and served, and they took their teens, and it was sort of a family thing. And during those years, I'm talking about probably a dozen or more teens that were right at the age of, you know, studying the Bible, you know, becoming disciples, that weren't interested, you know, at first they weren't really there, but they started going and serving those children. And by the end of that semester, every single one was studying the Bible, and every single one of those became disciples that year. And that continued year after year. And we began to see, you know, it's like, wow, this is really making a difference in our youth and family here. And so I know even that during that time, I treasure the time because Haley was our oldest granddaughter, would ride with me downtown to Saturday Academy. And each Saturday I would pick her up and we would ride down. We'd have a chance to talk all the way down, and we would serve together and we would ride back. And years, she used to tell me that, that was the best time of just being able to talk and have that time together. And so I think, just things like that are just so important for us. And so, we could go on and on and on, but
We won't.
we won't. We'll stop. That's it. And, whatever, Matt, whatever you want to, where you want to go from here, we'll let you have it back.